Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, ladies and gents, we're doing a little bit of conversion here. Yeah, we got a minivan going on. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this video we're gonna talk to you all about what we know and what we can prove, and what we don't know and what we can't prove. Big deal, big difference. And the reason why we say it this way is because you see that song right there. I haven't heard that song in a long, 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 long time. Okay, so some of them we gonna get in trouble for, okay, because they don't want us playing some of these songs. Okay, but right now we just gonna mix it up, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why we gonna mix it up is because we can. All right, let's get back to talking about what we know and what we can prove, because it makes a big difference in the long scheme of things. As we told y'all, we're going to segue back and forth, but this is Keep Vid Pro, and what it's doing is it's taking each one of those movie vids, those videos, and it's just going to give us the music. So we just converting them. These were the ones that we didn't do. There's a total of 399 of them, 4.5 gigabytes worth of music, 399 songs, old school. Okay, the Jones Girls. Okay, then we got Michael Henderson. Take me, I'm yours. Take me, I'm yours. Anyway, and just a bunch of them, ladies and gentlemen. Now, see, these two right here are the same one, and so eventually it will recognize that and it will get rid of them when I bring them and blend them. But what do we know? Well, the one thing that we know for a certainty. Hold on, because I just explained this to a group of people last night, so that they can get it. Let's go on up here. Let's prove what we know, what we can prove. Because you see, there's a lot of talk. A lot of people are saying a lot of junk. But when they talk, you can tell, and I always have a problem finding this because the way it is written, it is just a small section that they didn't go into a lot of detail about, but they did highlight the section. There it is right there. Mr. Trafficant was asked to give his remarks, and they allowed him to expand on his remarks. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me there's a whole conversation? Well, we showed you guys the video where he's actually having this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, how can we prove that the United States is in bankruptcy? Because all we have is one of the congressmen getting up in front of Congress saying, Mr. Speaker, we are now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in the world history, the United States government. So, according to Mr. Trafficant, in his conversation, in his remarks, he was saying that the United States government is in bankruptcy. So how can we use this to prove that the United States is in bankruptcy? Well, first of all, recognize that this is congressional record. Okay, so what is congressional record? It's public record. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now public knowledge. Now, I guarantee, can't prove it because look, ladies and gentlemen, I can say this because I know it to be a fact. I know that the congressional record is a part of the public record, and it is more than likely registered in the public Federal Registry. If not, it's in the congressional record, which is also public record, making it public knowledge. The other way we get to prove this public understanding is that no one stood up and contradicted him. Okay? No one said, oh no, you are lying. How dare you get up here and say this in front of the Congress, in front of the American public? You have no foundation to base that, blah, blah, blah. Which is what they would have done, ladies and gentlemen. They're politicians. They always put up and put on a show. So, again, we can now prove, based on the fact that no one rebutted this congressman's statement, and an unrebutted statement stands as true. It's a maxim in law. So pay attention. We can prove the United States is bankrupt. We can prove this. Ladies and gentlemen, because we have pay attention, the proof that the United States is in bankruptcy, then you must understand that, pay attention, there is no debt. Why? Because all debt collection activities have ceased in the United States. Can you prove that? I know you got it, because you don't say nothing without being able to prove it. Oh, yeah, I can prove it. Let's do, yeah, we have to look it up the way, the stupid way. What do you mean by stupid? Ain't nothing ever stupid. Well, the stupid way is calling it HJR 192 when it's actually HR 192. Okay, let's see if it's under HR 192. See, they want to do HJR. I didn't click HJR. What is HJR? HR 190. See, 192. This is not House Resolution 192. Okay, House Joint Resolution 192, the Supreme Court referred to it as House Resolution 192. But we can go here because this is one of the sites that actually has a copy. Now, yes, I could have looked up, pay attention. I could have, pay attention, I could have looked up the actual statute at large. But that's not what I was looking for. Hold on, let me enlarge the screen. Okay, now we go here, and you know what? This is probably the site that doesn't have, they don't have the full 192. And I'm not, oh, you see where it says, and they pledged us as collateral to back the government debt? Well, that's actually true. Okay, before I wouldn't listen to that. Why wouldn't I listen to that? Let's take these people. Who is this? This is After 7. They're going to be singing Sarah Smile, y'all. And although Hall & Oates originally did Sarah Smile, there are only a couple of groups who can take this song and make it into something worthwhile. And After 7 did an all right job. I don't want to do research. I want to see a copy of the resolution. That's what I want. And you know how they talk about discharging debt? House Resolution 192 is the remedy. Well, House 92 it only helps you to further understand something. So let's understand. This is the statute at large, ladies and gentlemen. This is not House Joint Resolution 192, but it is a joint resolution, but this is a statute at large. Okay, it is the act.
We have help. Notice Solomon prayed that Jehovah
Hold on.
would only hear
One
from
moment. I have no idea what caused that to happen. Something I was listening to yesterday, and it just started talking. Don't know what was going on, y'all. I apologize. But let's pay attention. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States Congress assembled. No, this is not the joint resolution. This is it. 48 is the one. They came up with two resolutions on the 5th of June, 1933. This is the one. It is to assure the uniform value of coins and currencies of the United States. Remember, all coins and currencies are equal in value. That's what this quote-unquote law was all about. Okay? Now, pay attention. It says, whereas the existing emergency, yes, the national banking holiday, the so-called national emergency, has disclosed that provisions of obligations, government obligations, private obligations, which purport to give an obligee, the person who is owed the money, a right to require payment in gold. Don't worry about gold. I keep saying that to everybody. I've been saying this for years. We're not concerned about gold. We're concerned about a particular kind of coin or currency of the United States, or an amount of money of the United States measured thereby. Why? Because we're talking about the uniformed value. So Gold was a particular type of coin or currency of the United States. It was an amount of money of the United States that was measured thereby. Did they not measure gold and tell you how much it was valued at per ounce? Silver per ounce? So we don't worry about payment in gold. That's only to distract you. In fact, this law has nothing to do with gold. Okay? Whereas the holding or the dealing in gold affects the public interest. Ladies and gentlemen, this had nothing to do with gold. They were in bankruptcy. Okay? It had nothing to do with gold. They encouraged a banking holiday. It had nothing to do with gold. I know. Some of you believe, yes, it did. And you hold on to that. Obstructs the power of Congress to regulate the value of money of the United States. Well, Congress couldn't regulate the value of gold. The Constitution did not give them the authority. What they were saying is that it obstructs the power of Congress to create money and then regulate it. That's why it says that it is against public policy, as they are inconsistent with the declared policies of Congress. See, declared policy. Congress has declared that they have the right to regulate money. Okay? So it is inconsistent with the declared policy of Congress to maintain at all times the equal power of every dollar coined and or issued by the United States in the markets and in the payment of debt. Now, therefore, be it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this song right here, whoo, man, this was my song. It's just something about this song that just, the harmony, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This ain't a video, so that's just the song. Well, anyway, I just love this song. Brings back a lot of memories. I hope it brings back memories to you too. Let's go on. Remember, we're trying to prove that it's against the law for anybody to demand a debt from anyone, that this is the law for which you discharge your debt, but many people have been going about it the wrong way. Resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States in Congress assembled, that every provision contained in or made with respects to any obligation which purports to give the obligee, every provision contained in or made with respects, ladies and gentlemen, that's every contract that deals with an obligation which purports, suggests that somebody has a right to require payment in any coin or currency of the United States. Legal tenders, coin or currency of the United States. Money orders, coin or currency of the United States. Look at the Bill of Exchange Act. Look at the Coinage Act. Okay. Money orders, credit cards, checks. Those are coins or currencies of the United States. People say, well, checks are not currency. Yes, they are. They're tender for payment. And you have the Legal Tender Act. Pay attention. Or an amount of money amount of money of the United States measured thereby is declared to be against public policy, and no such contracts shall be made with respects to any obligation, any hereafter incurred while they're in bankruptcy. There cannot be, and we're going to download this again. I hate the title, House Joint Resolution 192, but every obligation heretofore, up until this point, or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provision is contained therein or made with respects thereto, shall be discharged upon payment. What type of payment? Dollar for dollar. Equal value for every dollar. We already learned that. They already talked about that. Congress is determined to maintain at all times the equal power for every dollar. Need to show you that, guys, that again, so that you know, because most people don't pay attention. But at all times, there was to be equal power for every dollar. Because if the dollars don't have equal power, then it is a violation and inconsistent with the declared policies of the United States Congress to maintain at all times the equal power for every dollar, coined and or minted and or anything else here in the United States. So every obligation, because now they say there shall be no provision containing any such, because any such provision would be against public policy. Now they give you something that's against public policy. Every obligation heretofore or hereafter incurred, because they already talked about hereafter and they already talked about heretofore in that provision up there. Okay? Or whether or not any such provision is contained therein, but then they said no such provision shall be contained or made with respect. Now they go whether or not. They don't get to do that. And it's called statutory interpretation. This cancels out because what came first outlawed what came second. Shall be declared or discharged upon payment dollar for dollar in any coin or currency, which is at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. Don't you know that that's why the bills that are printed by the Treasury says this note is legal tender good for the payment of all debts, both public and private? People keep thinking that those are Federal Reserve notes owned by the Federal Reserve and that the Federal Reserve is lending them to the United States. That is not true. Those notes are printed by the United States Treasury. The Federal Reserve doesn't charge the Treasury to print those. You guys have been misunderstanding that. The way the law is written, and we know that it's different, but the way the law is written, it says that the Treasury prints those, and the Treasury charges a percentage to the Fed for printing those notes. Isn't that interesting? Because if they didn't do that, ladies and gentlemen, according to the so-called bankruptcy, see, if the Federal Reserve was to produce those notes and then charge the U.S. interest to use those notes, pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, then the U.S. could say because of the value they received from that, that the bankruptcy is no longer pending, that the bankruptcy is over. And by giving them that ability, then que sera, sera. They don't have no say. They don't have no right to claim a debt. Some of you are thinking, well, why don't they just sit up there and say, we're not going to pay you? Because the moment they do that, they lose faith on the world scene, and another country will step up. And then their currency will be recognized, and the United States currency wouldn't be recognized anywhere. Well, we don't need the rest of the world. Of course you do. Of course you do. You cannot, the United States, even if it wanted to, couldn't be an isolationist country. It couldn't isolate itself, because you see what happens to countries that isolate themselves, that make themselves their own worst enemy by not allowing free trade, not allowing anybody else in. Anybody ever heard of urethra? Exactly. And there are hundreds of other countries out there that have basically refused to let people in. China was one of them. You guys need to understand, China had those billions of people there, and then they didn't have any trade with any other country. And they stayed in the Stone Age. Don't believe me? Just go back and look in the 70s and look at the state of China. China didn't have nuclear weapons. Back then, they only gained those as a result of the cheap labor. Let's get rid of this because it's irritating me. Okay, let's continue so that you guys know. Please understand that it is declared to be against public policy for anyone to claim somebody owes them a debt and to demand payment in a particular type of coin or currency of the United States. Okay? It says, any provision contained with respects to any obligation which purports to give an obligee, a person demanding a debt, the creditor, the right to require payment in any particular kind of coin or currency. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you keep hearing me say species. They never required you to pay in a particular species. If they did, they would be violating the law. So that's why we tender payment. Okay? According to the law respecting tendering payment. Okay? And see, you see this right here? Clauses and obligations requiring gold, etc. You see how it says gold, etc. Payments declared contrary to public policy. Okay? Pay attention. Clauses and obligations requiring gold, etc. Now you see how they put etc. and they don't say or a particular kind of coin or currency or an amount of money such as cash is declared to be against public policy. These are things we can prove, ladies and gentlemen. It says that's against public policy. Well, if it was against public policy then, it is against public policy now. How do we know? Because respecting any obligation hereafter incurred. This is the hereafter, y'all.
Oh, are we living in the hereafter? I've always wondered how it would feel to live in the hereafter. I'm so glad to be here in the hereafter.
Anyway, all right, ladies and gentlemen, these are things that we know. These are things we can prove. Now, can we discharge a debt while the government is in bankruptcy? Of course we can. Without going to bankruptcy court? Of course we can.
How do we do that?
Oh, well, it's not that hard.
What do you mean?
It's not that hard. You just have to understand what you're doing. The biggest issue is you have debts. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a monthly rental payment that you make, that's not a debt. Technically, it becomes a debt when it goes to collections. Okay, so your monthly rent is not a debt. It is an obligation, but it's not a debt obligation, and it's not an obligation as defined in statute. Hold on, because some of y'all are not going to understand it. It says, every provision contained with respect to any obligation which purports to give the obligee the right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency. It says that gives the obligee the right to require payment in gold or a particular type of currency. What we're saying is no one can demand that you pay in a particular type of coin or currency. It's against public policy. But can someone require that you pay for the use of their stuff? Yes, because it's a private contract. It's not a public contract. These are the technicalities. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, low down, dirty, low down. These are the songs I grew up with. So this is going to be my music playlist, and I'm so sorry to interrupt everybody every time listening to this because I'm going to be highlighting some of these people like bars. Okay, why? Because they deserve the credit. They got us through some very unique times. And I know those of you who go back remember this song. Now, hey, I know you want to comment. I know you want to tell me how it brings back memories, but don't comment to me because I don't care. No. Comment to those family members, those brothers and sisters, mothers and cousins and uncles that you were around when this stuff was out. Talk to them, reminisce with them about those times. Don't do it with me because I don't want that. I got my reminiscing. All right, let's continue. Again, about the things we can prove. There are people talking about being sovereign. Oh, and the 14th Amendment. Oh, the 14th Amendment. Whoo, doggy. Well, let's take care of the two birds, and we need to start killing them, okay? Because them birds ain't got no business being out of that cage, okay? We gonna kill us some birds today. First, we have to... Do you see this right here? Ain't this interesting? Don't that remind you of FEMA? Sorry, I had to get my... And I may have to put y'all on pause. Yeah, let's put y'all on pause to be safe.